We are in week 4, which is the final week of a 4-week series titled Getting Control of Your Life. Today's it's a culmination and a summary all tied together. We talked about getting control of finances. We talked about getting control of time, getting control of appetites, which was anything that kind of leads us astray, or why wouldn't we get this done? And you have the worksheet in front of you today, getting control of career. Now, for some of you, that's an immediate checkout. I got it. You're going, been down that road, I'm done, I don't need career stuff. Well, career's kind of the basis of this, but it's far broader than that. It's really an examination of life. And my personal experience is that as I check those things off, career, I'm not in that phase, whatever that is, I found that the same pressures existed because the tendency was to waste time, waste energy, become a little less focused and directed. And so these principles, and that's really what they are, become even more important. On your sheet, you'll see the theme verse for the series, Proverbs 25:28, like a city whose walls are broken down is a man, woman, boy, girl who lacks self-control. I was just talking yesterday with somebody about Sandy, and he had met her, and he was saying, she's pretty amazing. I said, she is amazing. And he said, what do you think is the key there? And I just simply said, she's very smart, very, very focused, but she's very disciplined. She makes lists. I can make a list. Like last night, so I'm talking to her last night. She said, now, what are your goals for tomorrow? And I said, are you serious? I mean, seriously, honestly. I want to get to Circle K by 5:50. That's my goal. And I missed that. I got there at 5:55. So I'm already out of whack, and I barely left the house. And it's not just make that list, it's get it done. And I stand in awe of that. And it really has inspired me. I spent an hour on hold, that's a long time yesterday, with Medicare. And then I got the gal, and she said, hi, this is Victoria, can I help you? And I said, Victoria, are you having a good day? Yes, I am. Are you? And I said, not really. I've been on hold for an hour. And she said, you know what, let's get this fixed. And it was really kind of cool. I got a bunch of stuff done yesterday. So it's really simple. We're not talking about climbing Mount Everest here or curing cancer. We're talking about living a productive life on whatever those terms are. So you got the outline. How do you know you're out of control? What do you need to know? And what do you need to do? So I like that. How do you know you're out of control? Number 1, you no longer enjoy the work you perform. And we have to be careful. We've talked about it before. I was in a meeting, and it was like a small group gathering, and there were about 7 or 8 guys. This was probably 10 or 15 years ago. We're downtown in a boardroom at one of the high-rises, so there's like 5 or 6 highly productive, high-energy guys, and me. Okay, I don't think I fit into that group. And we're going around and we're analyzing life, and they're all complaining. And we get to one guy, and he said, this job, they're calling me all the time. I got to get up in the middle of the night. There's a lot of pressure. And I said, you're a doctor. This is what... Honestly, in the entire time in med school, you didn't know this is what... And what we discovered when we peeled this back, much to my amusement, and they didn't seem as impacted as I did, is they all basically had jobs that they dreamed about. But the dog caught the car. So I have to realign. Secondly, you no longer control the lifestyle you maintain. You're being pulled in different ways by different people, different settings. Third, you no longer look forward to a promotion. I had a guy came in I don't know how long ago, and I said, "How you doing?" "Good." "Anything new at work?" He said, "I'm up for a big promotion. There's like 100 of us applying for this job." And I said, "Well, that's cool." I said, "Do you have a chance?" He said, "I'm by far the most qualified. I think I'll get it." I said, "That's terrific." He said, "I don't want this. It's less money, more responsibility, more of this, and it puts me on a track where they're going to want to move me. They're going to want to send me to Dayton. I don't want to go to Dayton." And I said, "Well, why don't you intervene?" "Well, I don't know." See all those things combined? I don't know if I can. If I don't take this, I'm afraid all of a sudden, bam, I'm the one who's labeled. Here's the fourth thing. You no longer appreciate the life you lead. Your hero is Richard Kimball. You want to dye your hair and run around the country looking for a one-armed guy, hoping nobody knows who you are. There's no gratitude at all. You don't see it. You don't appreciate the things that are going on. We'll talk about it more in a minute. And number 5, and this is my wheelhouse, I think, you no longer feel contentment. No one, I don't think, has influenced my life more than Larry Wright. And so when I started to teach, I spent a lot of time with Larry, and I'd ask him certain things, and I watched everything. And I heard Larry teach Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So live, where I could see, not just tape, listen to tape all the time. But I watched him live 3 times a week, and I watched everything. And I said to him one day, I'm convinced that I could take any tape, and he probably had taught through most of the books of the Bible, if not all of them. I don't know. I never went back to check. But I said, I could take any tape, somewhat obscure, Ezekiel chapter 3, and your teaching on it, in the 45 minutes, you would talk about marriage. He said, well, I don't know if that's true. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure it is. If it's not 100%, it's 90%. And he said, that's just my thing. That's how God touched me. God took my marriage and put it together, and I come back to that on everything. And he said, you'll develop that too. It'll be your thing. Well, it didn't take long for me, and probably given my background, it probably reflects my selfishness and my sin, that my hot button became contentment. Godliness plus contentment is great gain. Came into the world with nothing, we leave with nothing. It was the theme over and over again. Now, it's a sticky wicket when you get into it, because the minute you start talking about contentment, people are afraid you're going to get soft. I had a guy that wanted me to come in and talk to his sales force about a variety of different things. He said, here's my real hesitancy, is you're going to start talking about love and all this stuff, and they're going to lose their edge. They're gonna lose that thing that moves them. And I said, well, I don't know if that's true or not. We were a week ago Saturday, I think, in Tucson with a group of 70 high school coaches, and I was suggesting that the number one quality they needed to develop on their teams, and I'm suggesting that if you can build an attitude and an environment of love on that team, selflessness, real selflessness, that's the very essence of a team sport. So Deshaun Watson, when he was talking about Clemson this year, said, we love one another, we care for one another. Well, that you bring that spirit into a team, you begin to build cohesion. It's the same thing with a staff. It's any relationship. And the first thing those coaches do is they step back and say, we're going to get soft. We start loving each other, we may not win. And so then I come back, and you know the answer, right? First 2 guys I heard talk about love on a team were John Wooden and Vince Lombardi. I don't think Lombardi and soft. It's a real care. It's that real cohesion. Well, it's that sense of contentment. It's satisfaction. You live in a body that by its nature is discontent. And you live in a world, especially in our culture, that's designed to make you discontent. You never have the right corn chip. You never have the right cheeseburger. You never have the right car. You never have the right house. You never have the right spouse. You can always do better. Well, in this whole process of being out of control, and as I said, it's way beyond career, I begin to look at these things in my life. Well, what do I need to know? And as you look at those, you'll see the references are alongside of them, and they're all out of the book of Ecclesiastes. And as I was talking to Sandy, I was saying, it's really interesting, this whole study really came out of the book of Ecclesiastes. It's where Solomon says, here's what life's all about. The story is basically this. God allowed Solomon to experience everything you think would make you happy. And then he steps back and says, here's how that went. So if you love to write, you're an author. He's very successful in what he writes. He's a musician. He writes songs. Wealth, really unparalleled wealth. The finest of wines, women. He either had 700 wives and 300 concubines, or 700 concubines and 300 wives. Whatever it was, I call it the original 700 Club is what he had. Okay, I don't know what it was. And this is not to be gross. It's to have you understand this. He basically could see 3 women every day throughout the year and never see the same one twice. And these ladies existed for one reason, and that was to satisfy him. So he has a very unique perspective on life. And he steps back at the end of this, and he writes kind of a memoir. And so we learn from it. What do you need to know? Number 1, work can become obnoxious. It can ruin your days. Proverbs 2:22. What does a man get for all his toil and anxious striving with which he labors under the sun? All his work is pain and grief. Now, if you're going to understand, or we're going to understand the book of Ecclesiastes, we need to understand the phrase, under the sun. What Solomon does is to say, I'm going to look at the human condition from 2 perspectives. One is strictly human. It's going to be horizontal. It's as I look around as a person evaluating life. And the other is try to see the world as God sees it. And he says, under the sun, in this evaluation, I really never get to a finish line. It ruins my days. Here's your second point. And it can ruin your nights. Solomon says, even at night, his mind doesn't rest. This too is meaningless. If you're somewhat familiar with the book of Ecclesiastes, you know the phrase, vanity of vanities. He's not saying vain in a personal sense. The word literally is the idea of futility. That life lived on this horizontal plane is ultimately futile. That there's no rest in the mind. I talk to myself a lot. I presume people do. I used to kind of hide it, and now I just assume everybody thinks I'm on a speakerphone. I just talk to myself a lot. I was driving yesterday, and I was listening to some television commentary on the political scene, and I was providing my own commentary in a very animated way. How I see this. This is what I see. How can you not see this? This is the problem. And I'm really going at it. What I realize is that in the morning I'm rehearsing the day, and at the night I'm debriefing the day. I've got a couple of meetings today, so as I'm driving up today, and I'm preparing, I'm warming up. How's that phrase sound? Can I remember that phrase? Get that in the meeting. And then tonight, Sandy will call and she'll say, how was your day? And I'll say, fine. And she'll go, well, fine is not a descriptor. It was good. Whoa, well, what happened? Who did you meet? What did they say? What did you say? I go, oh, no, more important. How was your flight? And then that'll be the debrief for the day. Well, here's what he's saying, is in this world, as I look at work, in fact, the phrase he uses is I look at my toil and anxious striving. I had dinner the other night with a man who I admire a great deal. He's 80. And I said, are you kind of at that point where the young guys are asking you what about life, and you're really successful, blah, 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 blah. And he said, here's my message to them. And I thought, well, I need to write this down. This will be good. I need to remember. He said, stop striving. Well, how do they respond to that? How do you take a 30-year-old man or woman who's at the front end of the career and say, stop striving? How do you evaluate that? Because some of this stuff I think you just learn, right? Well, Solomon's going, listen, when it comes to work here, you got it in the morning, you got it at night. It's the second thing, okay? Motivation can become excessive. We have to be careful here. So listen in a favorable way. You push to surpass. Ecclesiastes 4:4. I saw that all labor and achievement springs from man's envy of his neighbor. This is meaningless. He said, I didn't see this great drive to succeed, to create something beautiful, but I saw that in their heart what was driving them was envy and jealousy. When I was growing up, I was a boxing fan. That's primarily because of Muhammad, probably, and Sugar Ray Leonard. And then all the little characters you forget about that were pretty amazing fighters. Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns. And one of the guys that may be one of the most underrated of the boxers was Larry Holmes. Holmes just came at a bad time in a bad way. He was in Muhammad's shadow, and he's fighting Kenny Norton and Ron Lyle. Well, Larry Holmes lives in Easton, Pennsylvania. And Larry Holmes used to say, in Easton, the Joneses keep up with the Holmeses. Okay? Which is pretty good for Larry. But there's that drive. How do I look? The guy came in a PL, hadn't seen him in a while. I said, wow, you look good. And he said, well, thanks. I said, man, how much weight have you lost? Well, like 40 pounds. Wow, you working out? And he said, I'm working out hard, eating correctly. So that's a new hair thing, isn't it? Now I got a new hair cut and, a little spike, just enough of that, and I said, man, you look good. Well, what's the motivation? You know where this is going. I'm going to my 35-year high school reunion. So what his cardiologist told him, quit eating, quit smoking, none of that. But I'm going to walk in there and I'm going to find the cheerleader, and I was the quarterback. And I said, the sad thing is both of you are training for this moment, and you're going to hook up and be two blimps within a month. You're going to start eating Bosa donuts and everything all over again. But you push. Here you go. There's a push to stockpile. Again, I saw something meaningless. It's Ecclesiastes 4:7-8 under the sun. There was a man all alone, neither a son nor brother. There was no end to his toil. He never stopped. Yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. For whom am I toiling, he asked, and why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? This is meaningless. There's that an illusion that at some point I'm going to stop. Again, talking to a guy the other day, another 80-year-old. I'm hanging out with 80-year-olds. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm working on some deals. And this is me. I mean, maybe I don't have the guts. Well, I said, why? Why? You have to be risk adverse, I would think, at 80. Yeah, I love the deal, and I find my identity. And okay, if I think I'm going to get where I want to go by this, if it's going to land me something, I'm going to find satisfaction, I'm wrong. I'm running a race with no finish line. This is not meant to deactivate you. Go. You're 80, go for it. But I'm not sure that's the measure of growing old with dignity. That drives me nuts. He's 80 and he still plays golf. Okay. Still is the word they use. It's like a prelude to your activity. It's the George Bush Sr. thing. He's 90 and he skydives. Boy, that's not skydive. They duct tape him to an Army Ranger, and the Ranger jumps out of the plane. And that's what they do. The Ranger jumps out of a plane, but he can't even go get the mail. Okay? That's not a criticism. I'm just saying, don't hold that up. That activity is not what makes me grow old with dignity. I think it's really dangerous, but you start to stockpile. You start to accumulate. It's never enough. This is my favorite illustration of this, and it has so many subpoints. It's like a parable. It's William Randolph Hearst. And he's accumulated all this. He's got the castle, blah, blah, blah. And he goes through his wine phase and his girl phase. And it's kind of like Solomon. He gets into an art phase. And he's got all these amazing books. And he becomes absolutely obsessed with this one work of art. So he has this guy that does all of his art stuff. And he says, I want to buy this. Find it. I want to buy it. So he comes back in like 3, 4, 5 months and says, I've tracked this thing all over the world, and about 10 years ago, it disappeared. And Hertz is going, I got to have this. I'm not going to be satisfied till I have it. I got to have it. Find it. So he hires these detectives, and he calls Hertz. He said, all right, let's meet. I got good news and great news. The good news is we found it. The great news is it's in a crate in the basement of the castle. You're the one who bought it 10 years ago. Isn't that perfect? Isn't that the way it is? And that's such a great illustration because it's so, I gotta have this. I'm obsessed with this. If I get this, I'll be happy. If I win this, I'll be happy. If the Broncos win, I'll be happy. They won. Well, we're not happy anymore. What are we going to do now? Is Peyton get? It doesn't end. It can push you on to survive. Ecclesiastes 9:10. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Unfortunately, this verse is right up my alley. So let me read it with my emphasis. Whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. For in the grave, where you're going, there's neither working, nor planning, nor knowledge, or wisdom. I want to work, but I want to understand all of these things are trending toward my demise. I took the boys to a high school basketball game. Man, has basketball changed since we played it. It's so fast. Final score, 96-92. That's a lot of points in a high school basketball game. We're at Chandler High. So I have Haley and the boys. And we're going in, and I said, guys, I think this school's 100 years old. And Haley said, Chandler High's not 100 years old. And I said, well, I think it is. So we're in there, we're about halfway through the warm-ups, and Haley said, look at that. Here's a banner up in the corner, 1917 state runner-up in basketball. Now, they probably only had to beat 2 other teams to be runner-up, but I said, think of those kids. In this gym, on this floor, those kids are running around, and they're all dead now. I said to Haley, who made these stairs? Look at this. I can't. It's so hard to get up. And I'm watching the boys, and they're flying up those stairs. We're gonna go to the bathroom. Do you want to go? And I said, yeah, meet you there in about a half hour probably. And then I need another half hour when I'm there, and I'll be back for the overtime. So, but it's boom, boom, boom. But there's an inevitability to that. Here's the third thing. Achievement can become hollow. We're into this section now that if you've been with us and alert, so 2 separate things, you recognize familiar territory here in Ecclesiastes 5. More profit doesn't satisfy. Whoever loves money never has money enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. Now, take anything out of it, it's money, but you can put anything into that. If I'm looking for a person, place, or thing to bring me ultimate satisfaction, it's not going to happen. So yesterday, I need to go for a walk. I'm trying to get in better shape. So I go for a walk. I'm going to take the boys. I get down there, and Haley said, well, the girls want to go too. So now I'm going on a walk with a 10, 8, 4, 2-year-old. So this is not going to be high-impact aerobic activity for me. And so I came back, and I said, you know what, you've earned a coconut bar. I like these coconut ice cream coconut bars. You've earned one. You deserve it. So, and I said, but Sandy had told me you only get one of these a day. So it's about 3 in the afternoon, and the 5 is coming on. I thought, I'm going to have a coconut bar, and that'll take the edge. I'm done. Well, I got in there, and I found these mint chocolate chip bars that she eats, and I thought, I wonder, I bet I'm going to have one of those instead of the Coke in it. So I ate the mint chocolate chip one on the way back to my chair, really, and I sat down, and it was really good. I love mint chocolate. And so about 4 o'clock, Brett Bear comes on, and I say, you know what, Sandy said I could have one coconut bar a day. Okay, last night at 12:20, I'm in the freezer getting my third coconut bar of the night. It's not going to satisfy. You weren't meant. If you can't figure this out, you know it intuitively. If I make this deal, it's not enough. If I do this, it's not enough. I'm going to tell you why. Because that little desire you have, whatever it is only met through a personal relationship with Christ. So when you get into this, more profit doesn't satisfy. It's kind of similar. More volume doesn't satisfy. As goods increase, so do those who consume them. What benefit are they to the owner except to feast their eyes on them? The more you have, the more you spend. I have great ideas. I think I'd be a good executive producer on TV shows. I've got a couple of great ideas for a TV show. On the home and garden one, they need to do the last house. They do everybody's first house. I think there's a huge market for showing people downsizing. My working title is the body bag house, but I don't think that's going to sell. But the last house. But this extreme home makeover, I think, where are they now would be incredible. I'm always curious. They give these people this free, beautiful house. I'd love to come back a year later and see, how are they doing? I don't treat free stuff as well as I treat the stuff that I earn. As goods increase, well, that's never enough. More authority doesn't satisfy. The sleep of the laborer is sweet. Whether he eats a little or much, the abundance of the rich man permits him no sleep. I think I'm going to have more power. I mean, I'm watching, what are we down to? 6 candidates on one side and 1.5 on the other. We're down to 8 candidates. And one of these men or woman are going to win this thing. And they're going to wake up about a year from now and go, why did I want this? The most powerful person in the world. Most powerful person in the world. But you go down to Bethesda and they tell you there's a spot in your lung and you have all the power of the world. You're not going to offset that. Number 4, results are unpredictable. I love this. Strong assets are no guarantee. Ecclesiastes 9:11. I've seen something else under the sun on an earthly basis. The race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor does food come to the wise, or wealth to the brilliant, or favor to the learned, but time and chance happens to them all. There's this thing, and we can put different terms on it, luck, providence. There's this thing that happens. The swift don't always win. I don't go hardly anymore, but I always enjoyed going to the racetrack, to the horses. It's a beautiful event, and if you're over on the coast, it doesn't get any prettier than Del Mar. It's just absolutely beautiful track, and the ocean's out there. And as you watch, there's what they call the favor. There's the chalk. And if you've been at the track very often, if you've been at the track once, you've heard the phrase, he can't lose. I can make him lose. The weight of a $20 bill on his back will bring him to a halt. To a stop. The favorite in racing, who is usually the fastest horse based on past performance, the favorite wins 1/3 of the time. I watch a Fraser every night. Watching one the other night, Niles comes in, and his dad is watching a horse race on TV, and so Niles is great. Niles said, "Oh, which one is yours?" And he said, "The 5." Niles said, "He's taking an almost Zen-like approach to this race," meaning he's about 23 lengths back. But the fastest horse doesn't win. The smartest guy doesn't close the deal all the time. there used to be a show on CNN called Pinnacle where they'd interview business leaders, CEO, and they're interviewing this guy one day, and they're talking about him. I'd never heard of him, and he'd made $100 million the year before on something called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, $25 million a word. And so they're asking him, it's a great interview, it's my kind of interview. They said, we're fascinated by this. How did you go from conception to planning to design to manufacturing to distribution to marketing to sales? How did you do that? Here's what he said. I don't know. Well, how did you? Let's take another run at this. How did you come? And he said, I had this product, and I went to Hasbro and Fisher Price and I don't know, Mattel, and they all said no. But my kids were fascinated by it. And so I made these drawings, and they started coloring them, and I made a coloring book, and then I made a book you read, and then I started a Saturday morning infomercial. Those are the cartoons. And now I have this product. I have a friend, and we have this author we like. I'm not going to give you his name because you'll read it and go, But my brother turned me on to this guy. He said, I just read a novel, and the main character in this book is you. I said, well, that's got to be fascinating. And he said, I'm telling you, it's you. So my buddy and I started reading about this, reading these novels, and they're really good. So he called, I don't know what it was, November, and he said, hey, he's going to be at Poisoned Pen. Let's go down for a sign. Let's have dinner first. Where do you want to eat? And I said, we're downtown. We'll go to Valley Ho. We'll have dinner at the Ho. We'll go over to Poisoned Pen. We'll have a great night. So this guy's talking, and he's great. And these people now, it's a Q&A. It's a room about half this size. And they said, when you write, how much time do you spend outlining the book? And he said, well, I don't outline it. All right. How many drafts do you do before you submit it to the publisher? One. And what I discovered is the room was filled with people who all had a book at home they wanted to write. And I know what they're doing. They're going, I'm smarter than this guy. I'm a better writer than this guy. It just doesn't always shake out that way. That can be frustrating, can't it? Can't it be frustrating to walk around the office and go, I'm smarter than her, smarter than him, smarter than her, smarter than her, better than him, work harder than him, work harder than him, and I'm 28th out of 29, and they're first and second. He said, here's something else. Long hours are no guarantee. This is a killer, because, well, I may not be the smart, I'll just work harder. Ecclesiastes 8:16. When I applied my mind to know wisdom, to observe man's labor, his eyes not seeing sleep day or night, then I saw all that God had done. No one can comprehend this going under the sun. Despite all his efforts to search it out, man can't discover meaning. This pursuing for life. I want to understand life. Okay, here you go. I'm going to crack the code for you. You can be the most brilliant philosophical mind in the world, but if you don't have the code, the Bible, you're never going to figure this out. And that's what he's saying. I can look at this, I can study, I can work, but I can't understand it. I think that's my word for 2016 is perspective. Is I have to see it as God sees it. We used that definition of faith a couple weeks ago. Seeing my circumstances from God's perspective. So that deal that blew, it's not the end of the world. That deal that made, they just had that celebration for you. Salesperson of the year. You understand, this was a speech I got every year. You understand, we'd always get, this was designed to motivate us. We get this speech on January 2nd every year. You understand, we're all at zero. Can I enjoy that? No? Well, we're all at zero. Go get them, Tiger. I got to have some sense in that. And I can work hard. The biggest deal I ever did, here's what happened. Jim Wentworth came out of his office, and Jim looked around, because he thought it was a big deal, and I was the only poor sap there. He would have never called me otherwise. And he said, can you call this guy and check this out? And out of this, we made 3 big deals. I did nothing. I had days where I would cold call, be on the phone, and nothing. It's not saying don't cold call and wait for Wentworth to come to your office. It's just saying you need to understand that you throw the dice and God determines the outcome. So what you need to know, 5 things, I think they are, real quickly. Number 1, enjoy a simple lifestyle. Keep it as simple as you can. That one thing complicates another and another and another. Jim Elliot was a young man, wrote in his diary almost 60 years ago, I guess now. He was 21, and he was thinking about getting married. And he said, I've been musing lately on the extremely dangerous cumulative effect of earthly things. One may have good reason, for example, to want a wife, and he may have one legitimately. But with a wife comes Peter the pumpkin eater's proverbial dilemma. He must find a place to keep her. So a wife demands a house in turn requires curtains rugs a washing machine, etc. A house with this thing must soon become a home, and children the unintended outcome. The needs multiply as they're met. Car demands a garage land a garden tools. The tools need to be sharpened. Here's the second thing. Enjoy a productive life. Find satisfaction in your work. You get some of the Christians and they go, that work, that was after the fall. No, work became toil after the fall. You're designed to work. That's why when you stop, every guy I talk to that's that 55, 60, 65-year-old backing off, I'll say, what's the biggest challenge? I got to find something to do. I'll volunteer at Barrett Jackson. I'll pick up the garbage at the 16th hole. I'm not demeaning any of those. I'm saying there's a reason. You're designed to work. And I'm going to give you 3, 4, and 5 all together, and you got to go. Enjoy the human condition. Enjoy your divine allotment. And enjoy your consistent preoccupation. Your days are few. I called a friend who's a doc on Monday, and I said, I want to meet. I want to run some stuff by you. I need not involved. And I'll buy you breakfast. That'll be your copay. And just give me what you think. So he said, I can meet anytime Tuesday. So we're meeting, and I said, gosh, you were really available. He said, I retired. I said, really? How's that going? He said, kind of tough. He said, my grandson said to me, so you're not a doctor anymore. And his father-in-law, 91, had a stroke. So he's now at a different hospital, and the doctor's now wheeling his father-in-law around the hospital, and now he's dealing with the medical profession from that end, talking about so many different things. And I said, how's it going? He said, you know what? I'm so thankful. He said, literally, I get up every day and have a cup of coffee and say, God, thank you for this coffee. It's to develop that attitude of thanksgiving for what he has. It may not be everything I want, but in God's economy at this point in time, it's everything I need. So we close it out. Get in control of your life. Bottom line, finances, appetite, schedule, career, all of life, is I need to begin to see these things as God sees them in the context that God sees them. Understanding under the sun, from a human perspective, there'll never be enough, and there'll never be a finish line, and I'll be as dissatisfied after I get it as before. That's not to kill appetite and to kill striving, but it's to say I need to put the end game in its proper perspective. Father, thank you for this. Let us see the world as you see it. Thank you for these people who come out so faithful every Thursday morning. God bless our time. We pray that in Christ's name. Amen.